In this part of our Scoreboard app project, we're going to write the code to create a subtract button, add an image to it, and format that button to look like a button on the screen so that our users know exactly where to tap, and so that that button affects our score for team number 1. Instead of increasing the score, our subtract button will decrease the score in case we need to make any corrections if we accidentally gave points to the wrong team or if we want to impose a score penalty. All right, let's go ahead and close up our app preview and let's get started with this code. Go ahead and tap at the end of line 38, right behind that modifier code that controls the color or tint of our button. Go ahead and tap return, and let's add a comment here. Our next chunk of code will create our subtract button. And then we can go ahead and tap return at the end of that line. We're going to start typing button with a capital B. And when those code snippets pop up, we want to choose the button option that has an action and a label. Go ahead and select that and then tap return, and that will insert the code for us. Again, ignore that error message. It'll go ahead and resolve itself. We're going to tap return on those curly braces to deselect them, and then tap right in between the curly braces and go ahead and tap return so that we have a blank line on line 41. All right, in this part of our app, we're going to set up the action. What happens when our user taps on the button? Well, we want our button to subtract points from our Team 1 score. So let's go ahead and put a comment. Our action, when our user taps the action button, is going to be decreasing the score. Go ahead and tap return at the end of that comment. All right, and our code is actually pretty simple. To decrease the score, we're going to take our variable, Team 1 score. You can tap return when you see that code pop up. And we're going to assign or set the value with the equal sign to the current value of that variable, Team 1 score, minus 1. Now, if you're using your app as a scoreboard for something maybe like a Jeopardy game, where the answer categories are variations of 100 points, instead of 1, you might want this to subtract 100 from the score. But I'm going to keep this simple, so I'm just going to have this be 1. All right, also let's go ahead and change the text that appears on our button. Right now, that label on the button says button. Let's make it a little bit more accurate though, right? When we are tapping that button, what we really are going to be doing is changing or subtracting that score. So go ahead and tap on that text on the button and then tap right on the word button. And let's type subtract. So our new label, the text that's going to appear again in quotation marks because it is text. So we want Swift to print or show this text on the screen on our button, right? Let's check out the app preview, and now we've got it. We have a second button there. Our button says subtract. If we tap on it, hey, look, it is taking points away. So I can add points, I can subtract points. Let's make it fancier though, so it looks like a button again. Right now, it just kind of looks like a word there on the screen. So we want to make sure that our users know it's a button. Let's go ahead and close up that app preview. And let's go back over here to our code again to make this look more like a button. Let's also add an image here. And since we are subtracting, it makes sense that we might use a minus sign or minus symbol. Tap right behind the opening curly brace on line 43. Go ahead and tap return. So our label on our button, first we're going to have the symbol, and after that we're going to have the text that says subtract. So go ahead and tap on line 44 to make sure that you are there in the code, and then go ahead and tap on the image library at the top of Swift Playgrounds, that star with a circle around it. That again is going to open up those SF fonts, or the San Francisco symbols fonts, with all of these cool images in it. Let's go ahead and type minus in the search box. It's going to bring up all of these icons that have minus as part of them. You can choose any one that you would like. Again, I think I'm going to go with this icon that has this symbol that has the minus in it, and then it's also filled. Choose whatever one you would like. I'm going to tap on that, and now you'll notice that in the code it has inserted that image. Our code starts with image. This is a particular system image, one of the SF symbols fonts. So we have system name, and then the exact name of this icon is minus period circle period fill. All right. And again, that is in quotation marks because it's the name of our image. Let's take a look at the app preview to see what that did. Awesome. We've got a little minus sign now out in front of subtract. And we can tap on our button and it still works perfectly. All right, let's go ahead and close the app preview, and let's do a little formatting or modifying of that button, again, to make it look more like a button there on the screen. So tap at the end of line 46 behind that closing curly brace and closing parentheses for the button. Go ahead and tap return, and let's put a comment in. This next chunk of code is going to be modifiers to format our button. Go ahead and tap return at the end of your comment. Again, we're going to type a period because our modifiers start with a period. We'll start to type the word button style, and when our code snippets pop up, we can tap on that. We want to choose button style with style inside the parentheses. Go ahead and tap return after you select that. That will insert our code to format our button style. Right now it says button style inside of the parentheses. Go ahead and tap on that and type period bordered prominent in camel case with the lowercase b and a capital P, all together with no space in between. All right, let's check out the app preview. That's looking better. I like it. I like that color purple, but I want to kind of go with red right now. So I'm going to do a little bit more formatting to change the color or the tint to red. So let's close the app preview again. Tap behind line 48, behind that closing parentheses. Tap return, and let's do another comment. This next chunk of code is going to control our button color. You can go ahead and tap return at the end of that comment. All right, and we're going to start typing tint. It's a modifier, so we're going to start with a period, and then we'll type the word tint. That will pop up on our code. We can hit return when we see that popping up. Go ahead and ignore that error message for right now. Tap where it says tint color question mark, and we're going to type period red. I like that red button. And then you can hit return. That should resolve our error message. Let's also add a little bit of spacing to make this look nicer on the screen. So tap right after that closing curly brace on line 51, then tap return. Let's put a comment in. This next chunk of code is going to create some extra space. Go ahead and tap return at the end of that comment. And on that next line 53, you're going to type period padding, and you can hit return when you see that pop up. You can go ahead and delete the code inside of those parentheses. We just need some padding. Let's go ahead and take a look now in our app preview. That looks awesome. We have the name of our app on our screen. We've got Team 1 with our current score. And we have two buttons, an add button and a subtract button. Those look like buttons, so our users will know exactly where to tap to add points. And if they need to take some points away, they can use that subtract button for that. In the next part of our Scoreboard app project, we'll move forward with displaying team number 2 and the current score on the screen, and add the buttons to add points or increment the score and to subtract points just in case we need to.